Heartbreak over the holidays. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. One of the two National Guard members shot in the ambush attack near the White House has passed away. Now the suspect is facing a first-degree murder charge. President Trump delivering the news of Sarah Beckstrom's passing as Americans marked a somber Thanksgiving holiday in the aftermath of Wednesday's shooting. Beckstrom, an Army specialist from West Virginia, was just 20 years old. The other Guard member, 24-year-old Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, remains in critical condition this morning. The suspect, now identified, is Ramunullah Lakhanwal, an Afghan national brought to the U.S. in 2021 with a special immigrant visa and then granted asylum this past April. The CIA saying he worked with the U.S. government in Afghanistan during the war. The shooting adding to the national debates on both immigration and the president's use of National Guard troops in D.C. and other cities. Now, our Alex Prochet joins me from Washington. Also, John Cohen, the former acting undersecretary for intelligence at the Department of Homeland Security. Alex, let's start with you. What more do we know this hour?
Yeah, the big news, that development overnight, the tragic news that U.S. Army specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, did die from her wounds sustained during that ambush attack. The president making that announcement that she has passed on. We also heard from her father on Facebook, who said that my baby girl has passed to glory. President Trump also saying that Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, the 24-year-old who was also injured in that attack, is, quote, fighting for his life. And right now, there is an intense investigation into the background of that lone suspect, Ramunullah Lakhanwal. Right now, we know that it's a multi-state authorities looking at residences that he has had connection to, both in Bellingham, Washington, also in San Diego. We know that he lived in Washington State with his wife and 5 children. They're trying to uncover some sort of motive here. But as you mentioned, he has a background working with the Department of Defense and also Special Forces in Afghanistan. We know that he immigrated to the U.S. in 2021, or excuse me, yes, in 2021 under a Biden-era program. He applied for asylum last year. He was granted it in April of this year, but a lot of questions as to motive here.
So, John, talk to us about the vetting process. A lot of questions surrounding that now, both when the suspect first came here and then when he applied for asylum.
Yeah, so what it sounds like, and based on what we've learned thus far, is that this is an individual, like thousands of other Afghanistanis, who work closely with the U.S. military and intelligence community, not only as interpreters, but also to fight terrorists in Afghanistan. That means that while he was there, he would have been heavily vetted by the CIA, DOD, and other authorities to make sure he was not an insider threat and posed a risk to our forces. When we left Afghanistan, we offered to bring a number of these people for their own safety to this country. They were heavily vetted while in transit. When they initially arrived in the U.S., they would be held in what I would call intermediate facilities, where the vetting process would continue. That means they would look at biographic information, their fingerprints, other biometric information, and they would compare that to holdings in the intelligence community, DOD, law enforcement systems. And this is something that was done in partnership between the NCT, the National Counterterrorism Center, the CIA, NSA, Department of Homeland Security, CBP, and ICE. So it's heavy vetting. It would have been recurrent after he arrived here, and it would have continued up until the time he was provided asylum.
Got it. John Cohen, Alex Prochet, a lot to follow today. Thank you both.